Hello, my name is Bethany, and today I'm discussing the research and the question that I addressed. It was about Henry Ford, Andrew Carnegie, and John D. Rockefeller. And I wanted to know what was it that made these men such tycoons in the early 1900 industries. I want to know what their driving force was. I want to know, was it their economic strategy? Was it their business strategy? Was it the being born into a rich family? Was it having a good education? What was it that caused these men to reach such high positions in business? And how I researched this question was through a lot of primary sources, such as speeches that they gave, interviews that they gave, articles that were written about him, newspaper articles that were written about him, not just magazine articles, and not just scholarly articles, but people who loved them and people who hated them. I also went into biographies and their autobiographies. I wanted to compare what they thought about themselves as opposed to what other people thought about themselves. And it was really quite the contrast that I found. But doing this research and using these methods of filling out who these people were as a whole and not just one-sided or the other, I wanted to know that can what they did be still applied to what we can do today? Was it a different time for business then as it opposed it is today? Can their strategies still work for today's businessmen? And I found out, yeah, absolutely, because their strategy was to work hard and believe in the American dream of becoming better than what position you're born into. None of these men were born rich. Ford was born comfortable. His family wasn't rich and they weren't poor, they were comfortable. But they didn't necessarily help him with his dream of becoming an engineer because his father wanted him to be a farmer. Stay in the family business. That's what I want you to do. I will give you 40 acres if you give up tinkering and your engineer dreams and just be a farmer. Which he did take because he wanted to get married, but he only took it provisionally and only lived there 7 years, where then he moved to Detroit and got a job as a mechanic and an engineer for a company. And from there, he was able to constantly work on his dream, and his wife was a support for him. And eventually he did, make the first gas-powered engine for a horseless carriage, and he sold it for $200. And he used that money and invested it into another one where it just kind of kept growing. But he never wanted to be a businessman. He never wanted to own a company. But he got there through sheer determination and hard work. And he believed that he could do anything beyond what his father saw in the farming world. And he actually wanted to make farming easier and a better life. And that's what kind of drove him. Andrew Carnegie came from a migrant family in Scotland who lost all of their money, but they believed in the American way so much that they sold everything they had, jumped a boat, came to America to start a new life. And he worked hard at this new life, but he always believed he could accomplish and become better because America allowed for that to happen. You could become better. And John D. Rockefeller was in the same sense, because he was born into a poor family where his father was a thief and a conman and a horse thief, and all these names you can possibly imagine for a terrible man is what his father was called. And his father often enjoyed and was proud that he would try to cheat and get one over on his children. But he never gave his children much money growing up. In fact, like I say, he wasn't a very good man, was not home often, and he did have money. He had his own money, but he never really cared for his kids. But John D. Rockefeller worked hard, started his own business at the age of 7, raising and selling turkeys, taking that money, and then he realized when he was 12 years old, and a farmer he was working for needed money, he lent the farmer the money he got from raising turkeys, and charged him like 7%. And he was like, I am going to make money my slave, and I'm not going to be a slave to money. And that's what he decided at the age of 12. And it worked for him. And he worked hard. He spent months trying to find a job as an assistant, walking up and down streets for 6 months in the summer and the fall, and just wearing a business suit and working to get a job as an assistant, as a clerk for anybody. He finally got the job, and from there he kept working hard and kept finding ways to save money and kept finding ways to earn money. And one after another, each one of these men took a step up the rung on a higher social scale, and they became these icons of business that we look to, and we can still look to today because of how their hard work, and that transfers over to today. Because if we work hard and believe in the American dream that allows us to be able to become what we want to become, these men showed us the way to do it. Not through brilliant strategies of business, not through high education, because none of them ended up going to college, but they worked hard, and they believed that America would allow them to be better than what they were born into. And that is what my research project is about.